Hi, Vanessa Callahan here, and we're back to explore how to get on the same page with other caregivers and really unpack why it can be so darn challenging. This is your Monday Mindset Moment. Hold on a second. And one thing I've seen just consistently as I've been working with hundreds of families over the last about 20 years is that it's something really common, right? So you're not alone if this is something you're experiencing. It's absolutely something that others are going through. So just know that, please, as we kind of roll into this topic. As a matter of fact, when people take the quiz, parenting strengths quiz that we've designed to really help folks find their strengths and their vulnerabilities around creating resilience in their homes. One of the most common scores I see out of 5 with getting on the same, being on the same page as other caregivers is like a 1.5. And so oftentimes where people are, really running into issues in what they would call their parenting life has a lot to do with not aligning with the other adults. So if this is you, just know you're not alone, like I said, and it's a common experience and it's definitely addressable. There's something you can do about it. And one of the things that can help you really tune into whether this is happening for you is that, what you believe in or what you really value in terms of how people treat each other, how you spend your time, how you address discipline and behavior. It's like what you actually believe to be true and what you value is not what's happening. It's like not playing out in daily life. For an example, like maybe a child will walk, your child will walk by the trash and just throw something into the trash that's recyclable. And you're like, oh my gosh. Or it could be something even more intense, like you're at dinner and they spit the food out and they go, ew, right in your face. And you and your co-parent or another adult that's there, or just you and your child are looking at each other like, how did we get here? So what people get out of this process of being able to like get on the same page is that, one, I'd say until you're clear about what you actually value and what it looks like to live those values, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get into conflicts. And the best place to start that I've found, and this is my tip, okay, so I really want you to listen to this. The best place to start is with daily life and actually going through and creating daily routines and agreements about how those routines are going to look and feel and like what everybody's role is, in order to really get ahead of some of the common day-to-day problems. So that's one place that all of my clients start. By the way, we start right in there with what does daily life look like, because within that conversation represents so much about what you value, how you spend your time, how we deal with getting out the door, how we treat our environment of the home. It's all like in those hours of that daily morning and evening and afternoon routine. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to just really know, that if you were to take the time to really address your routines, you would see a really big change. And through that process, which, I have a series of steps that I lead folks through, but you can also do on your own, through that process of conversations of like, how do we actually want our mornings to go? What do you think it would take to get out the door time? And depending on the age of your kids, you're including them in those questions and those queries. You get to actually build a daily family culture together that reflects your values, right? Like, is it okay for us to yell 4 times across the house to get each other's attention? Or are we a family that's going to like go into the same room as the person that you want to talk to if you call once and they don't come, so you can actually see what's going on, for example? Like, it's possible way of representing mutual respect for each other. So there's that, routines. The other is understanding like what is in bounds and what is out of bounds in terms of behavior. So this is where I say like limit and boundary and expectation clarity is key. And another piece that I workshop through with all the people in my world. Oh, Lucy, glad to have you here from Scotland. Yes, welcome. Lucia, yes, Lucia. And I owe you a message. I know you reached out to me and haven't had a chance to get back to you, so I'm glad to see you here. So wanting to take inventory of like, what are some of the problem areas that really stress us out or painful or like repetitive, you're kind of feeling stuck around kids' behavior. and how you are going to respond collectively and how you're going to guide the child on those really painful ones is a great place to start with getting clear. And you're going to want to do a few things. What exactly is the expectation? And can you describe it in the positive? Like, here, like when we're at the table, we always this instead of don't do this at the table, right? So when we're at the table, we always take a moment to talk to each other. Like everybody gets a turn to talk instead of like, don't hog the airtime, or don't sit there and sulk, right? It's like, no, but here's what we do. So you get really clear on what you do want. And then you also let them know what you like. You do share what's out of bounds, and really be clear about like what's going to happen if those lines are crossed. And maybe even as a family, make some decisions around, well, how does the family respond when somebody spits their food out and goes, ew, right? Like what happens next? And actually planning that out a little bit with your kids. You'll notice that I'm all about smart, proactive parenting strategies, proactive being a key word there. So getting ahead of that and starting with whatever's most painful right now and identifying what's kind of in that out of bounds zone, what's the behavior we're encouraging. And the third area is like, what can we sometimes let slide and just not address for now, and maybe wait until later after we've addressed these more difficult things. It's a really great discerning exercise. I just spent 2 hours with my clients twice this month or last month just on this topic, or this month, yeah, on that topic. So it's a really valuable one. So getting clear, like, working on workshopping through a routine and really discovering, well, how do we want to do daily life to create our family culture. Second one is like getting clear about the most challenging, behavior issues right now, or ones that you find the most tension with your co-parent or your other caregivers is number 2. Number 3 is getting resources around how we're going to navigate, handle, and encourage really great emotional growth. And realizing like where those resources are coming from and making sure that you're aligned, because there are a lot of camps out there about a lot of opinions, and we have a lot of history personally and familiar, in our families as well, around how we're going to, really help our children have some emotional intelligence and be able to cope and be able to navigate big emotions and be able to, articulate their needs. And there's so much goodness to be had in that space that really is bonding for families. It helps form secure attachments where kids know they can come to you with difficult emotions and that they don't have to be alone with them. And what a wonderful opportunity for them to practice that with you. And so finding common resources with the other caregivers where you actually start the same language. In my world, we use things like Dr. Daniel Siegel's Brain in the Palm of the Hand, and we talk about the lid flipping. We also talk about, coping tools, like it's like a common vocabulary in the households of the parents who work with me, like, oh, what coping tool would you like to use? Having a calm down corner of some kind or some kind of chill zone that supports that, really normalizing that this is an activity that's supported and that is useful. And even building in like self-care practices, like, making sure that you attend, like we have sessions on nutrition and sleep and even spinal health, with all of our kids getting that technic. So making sure that you're finding like high quality resources and both engaging with them as much as possible, or several folks, so that you have that common language. A place to start that I would suggest is, coming in, checking out our session. We have a session this evening that's hosted through Jovial. It's called 3 Essential Ways to Boost Emotional Intelligence in Kids, and might give you a sense of like, oh, this is a resource like that I want to actually get another caregiver on board with. So I would just encourage you to register, and the replay will be sent and available afterward as well. So even if you can't make it this evening, but you'll have a chance to, dip into the pool together and start to feel it. Last month I hosted a workshop in San Francisco, and one of the things that we did is, we really noticed and looked around the room and being like, oh, like, there are multiple caregivers here, and even if you're there alone, like you can take these resources home. And I really drove home the point of what I'm making to you right now, which is it can be really hard to get on the same page if one person is engaging in getting all the parenting resources, and the other is relying on that person to tell them everything. Because I don't, that game of telephone where like maybe I say, hey, I'm going to say Gulliver's Travels, and then the next person says like Gottman's Travels, and then it's like Gottman's True Troubadour, and like it's lost in translation in the game of telephone. Well, it also puts a lot of pressure on the one person who's engaging with the resources to be the source of everything, and then it starts to be kind of good cop, bad cop, right? So the person who has all the information tends to be the bad cop, and the person who hasn't engaged much in like how to discipline, how to motivate, how to run these routines, how to set limits, is sort of more hands off and just like the fun parent. Oh my gosh, a recipe for disaster. I've seen it play out very badly over and over and over again. And if you're in that situation, let me just tell you, like, it doesn't have to stay that way. So why I'm sharing this event with you is that I really believe that it's an opportunity, and this is what the sign up page looks like. It's an opportunity for you and another caregiver, or even like sometimes when I say other caregiver, it's like your friends who you spend time with because they also have kids and your kids get along. It doesn't need to be someone in your household. As a matter of fact, there are plenty of single parent households and plenty of households where just one parent was not willing to engage, where folks are still able to make progress in this area. And so I would encourage you to come check it out. It's donation based, $1 or more. And we will be learning how to anticipate and address triggers, empathize without giving in, and how to keep your cool during tough moments, as well as guiding your child through strong emotions. So we're going to pack it full of really great ideas and tips and strategies that would be a nice next step for you to get on the same page with another care provider. So this stuff is hard. Let's just be real. It's a long, ongoing process because there's always going to be new problems and issues. And you don't have to do it in a disjointed, uncoordinated way, so long as you're willing to do things like come together and make decisions about your routine, come together and get clear about your limits and expectations. And these are things I'd prioritize, and come together and get on the same page as much as possible about what kinds of emotionally supportive resources you're going to be bringing into the household so that everybody's on board. If you take these steps, like the smart folks who are in my Family Foundation's immersion, like are, going full force forward, there are brighter times ahead. You'll find yourself in better, more high quality conversations than ever. Like just tomorrow, I'm going to be sitting down with some new folks to my world, and we're going to look at what parenting styles did you grow up with? Were they permissive? Were they kind of neglectful? Were they authoritarian or kind of more abusive and manipulative? Were they maybe high in demand and low in support, or low in support, or high in support and low in demand? What did you grow up with? Did you have the classic Jewish mom or the classic tiger parent, or did you have someone who was struggling with substance abuse, or was there just like not a whole lot of love in the household and you just don't have a model for that? Whatever it is that you're coming from, it's so important to get in touch with that. And that's something that we do to make sure that we all can kind of understand what our defaults might be. So my bonus tip is do a little bit of reflection, especially, and then share. I'll be leading these folks through a process tomorrow of just that. And then what we can have awareness around then is like what our defaults might be, and also why we might be swinging over to the other side, right? Like if we had a very strict parent, now we're very lenient, or if we had a very supportive parent, but it was kind of smothering, now we're like hands off. We can swing this pendulum, and that inconsistency is not only difficult on the child, it's also difficult on ourselves because we feel weird and guilty and confused, but then it's also confusing when you're trying to coordinate with another adult. So no wonder, just to bring it back home, average score is 1.5 on feeling like you're on the same page as another caregiver, or wanting to get on more of the same page. The ingredients are there for this to be hard, but it doesn't have to stay that way. And so with that, I leave you with your Monday mindset moment for this week, and just know that there's more for us to engage with. And again, if, like Lucy's saying, she would love to attend, but it's at 2 a.m. in Scotland. I understand the time difference. So what you might consider is registering anyway, so that you can get the replay video and watch it again. It's about an 1.5-hour session packed full of really great information. So if you got a lot out of this 10 to 15 minutes, then you're likely to, really deeply resource yourself this evening or from the replay. So hope to see you register, Lucy, and those of you listening. Take care, and we'll see you soon. All right, lots of love. See you next time. Bye for now.